Hello! I'm here now. I'm back. For now. I do have something to say at the end of this video that I think you might be interested in, but you're probably wondering, what the heck? What is this video? Well, I have an exciting announcement to make that's like a month late, but I don't care. Some of you might not be aware, but this year, got hired into this really cool production company here in Tulsa, and I did a really neat project, just a little thing that I did called David Crowder's Crushing Snakes Showdown animated music video. That's me! I did that. I did all that. It's a crazy story how I got to this place in my life, and I will share that with you in just a moment. But I thought it would be neat to kind of do my own little reaction video to what I spent 5 months working on, and kind of give you a little inside scoop, the tea, if you will, of the process of making this masterpiece that I've made. Sorry, was that too narcissistic? No! I'm gosh darn proud of what I did, and you should be too. So I have no recording equipment. This is my phone, and it's leaning against my laptop on a tissue box. I'm not even screen recording. I'm just gonna see how this works. Let's go. So this sequence, this whole first act, was the last thing that I worked on. I had 3 weeks to work on it, I think. A lot of this is 3D elements mixed with my 2D animation. Our inspiration was 80s anime, kind of that feel, 4 frames a second kind of animation, because we only had 5 months to create it from start to finish. Whoa. Ooh, who it be? Oh, I'm sorry, it's Jesus. I love that shot. Something about it that just gets me going. Everyone stop what you're doing. It's Kenny G. Funny story, I don't know anything about David Crowder lore. I'm sorry, David. But I have some friends, and that friend's family is a huge fan of David Crowder. And he divulged this information about this Arctic Fox character called Kenny G. And it's a she. And he, I guess it was a thing for a while. I don't know if it's still a thing. I don't listen to David Crowder, I'm sorry. Once I heard that, I was like, I can't. She has to be in the video. We're putting in Kenny G. Oop, yep. Can you spot Mr. Crowder? He's right there. Now here's the thing. This does imply that Mr. David Crowder was not raptured. But we're not going to think about that. And you're also probably wondering what's on his shoulder. That is a squirrel. So the company that I work for also did another animated music video 11 years ago. And it was not nearly this serious of a tone. I'll say that. It's the Forever Endeavor song that was on Christian radio all the freaking time when I was a kid. And that song had a music video animated by the same company I'm working for about an army of squirrels attacking the Crowder band. And that's it. That's the premise of the music video. But I thought it'd be funny to just kind of put a little callback in there. That's the key to death, hell, and the grave, if you did not already know. This was actually the first sequence that I animated after going through all the character designs and pre-production process, so this is really taking me back. This is my favorite animated shot right here. That shot was actually, before the final one that's actually in the music video, I did 2 animation tests. One of Jesus's face, and then another of this big death reveal, his whole shindig. And it was very interesting to see my first initial test become a final clean line colored effects thrown on it shot in this music video. It's pretty insane. It has probably the most frames and the most fluid animation out of all the animated shots I did in this music video, and it was one of the first ones I did, so it's pretty wild. The timing! Oh, this was such a cool set. And the throne, let me just talk about the throne for a minute. This was a collaboration. It was mostly my coworker Adrian's idea. Adrian was in charge of the set design, and he works in 3D. And so, to make my life so much easier, he was in charge of creating all the sets. So he created the set for the siege of Act 1. He also created the concept and the final 3D render of Hell's Gates, which is pretty intense, but pretty cool. And then he also did the concept for Satan's throne room. And the throne itself was a really cool concept that he basically created. The whole, Satan's whole thing, right, is he's so full of himself. Pride was the first sin, and that's how he got kicked out of heaven, right? His concept was, if he's gonna have this throne room, it's gonna be all about him and all about his wins. And the biggest win that he ever had was when humanity fell and he tricked them. And so the throne itself is this giant tree with a snake wrapped around it and hanging ornaments that represent the forbidden fruit. And we have Eve reaching up towards it, the snake about to devour her. And then at the very bottom, it's just the representation of humanity bowing down at the new god, little g, of this world. And I thought that was genius. It's one of my favorite concepts that was put into this music video. It's high noon, boys, and out of his mouth comes a sword. Dude, he's ready. That's one of my favorite things that I ever came up with. So back when we were working on pre-production, I was going through iterations of Lucifer's design, and it went in multiple different directions. But one of the things that I was kind of stumped on for a couple days was the weapon that Lucifer was going to use to fight against Jesus. And I was thinking, like, I didn't want it to just be any old weapon. I didn't want it to be a spear. I didn't want it to be like a bow and arrow or whatever. I wanted it to have some sort of meaning. And I thought back to Lucifer's origins, and he was one of the best singers. He was a worship leader, essentially, in heaven's courts. And he played the lyre. And I thought, what if the one thing that made him so beautiful and gorgeous and talented, like one of the aspects of him that made him who he was as an angel in heaven, is now something that is used to be offensive. And I was like, you know what? What if the lyre turned into a freaking battle axe, baby? And that's what I did. Can you tell I'm very excited about the things that I did on this? It still blows my mind that this is my reality right now. What's interesting about this fight sequence is that I had never storyboarded or animated any fast-paced stuff like this before. So this was really interesting to work on, and I'm very proud of it, even though it was very short. The more he fights Jesus, the more his actual self is revealed. His gorgeous masculine self is just a facade. This is who he really is. Oh, and then we got the Kamehameha, baby! Really throwing it back to some classic anime stuff. The weight of death is holding him down, but it was very light on Jesus because he defeated him. This one was a fun sequence, to have his face morph into that weird skull. That's nice. Well, that was David Crowder's Crushing Snakes Showdown music video. There's a lot I could say about the music video. I mean, there's all the the references from the Book of Revelation and everything, and the comments on the official video, they've kind of caught on to that. So it's pretty cool to see people, see like, oh, this is from this verse and this passage, and whoa, and seeing people's reactions and, how freaked out they are that there's a Jesus anime, like, hello. It was really fun to keep up with everyone's reactions to it. So, and now here's mine. I would like to share the story of how I got this job. So it was back in March of 2020, the month that everything went down. I had been working in retail for about 5.5 years at this point, and there were, talks of, all these retail establishments closing down because of the mandatory stay-at-home order issued by the government. And so I was just kind of waiting for, my turn to be furloughed. My hours were already getting cut because nobody wanted to leave their houses or shop anywhere, so I was really afraid I was going to lose my job. And at that point, I was living paycheck to paycheck. And so the thought of me losing my job was a little scary, but there was this piece that just resonated with me that everything was going to be okay. And usually I worry about this stuff a lot. So it was very interesting to have that piece throughout that uncertainty. It was the beginning of March, and I got this email from the executive producer of this production company based in Tulsa. And I had communicated with these people before, about a year prior. I had a connection that was connected to one of the producers there, kind of talked back and forth, but communication kind of faded after projects kept falling through. And so I hear from them again. He says, there's this animation opportunity to animate a music video. Would you come in for a meeting? I was like, sure. At this point, with how sometimes the business goes, there are talks of projects, but maybe the client doesn't like the price, or the project just falls through for some reason. So I was going into this meeting with very low expectations. Like, I thought it was this up-and-coming artist, and that the price range of creating this music video would be too much, and then it would ultimately be dropped, and then I would just have to figure out something else. So I go into this meeting. The executive producer and one of the other producers were there, and they start talking about this project. And they divulged that the client was David Crowder, and the music video was going to be about the second coming of Jesus Christ, and that I would be the only animator on the team. And would you like a full-time job right now? Uh-huh. It all happened so fast. And like, even my expectations were so low that the best case scenario in this situation that I came up with wasn't even this. And so I said yes, and we talked a little bit more about the potential creative process behind the whole thing. And right before I left, my now boss says, it's funny how the rest of the world is losing their jobs and you just got hired to your dream one right before the world shut down. Oh, wow, this is pretty crazy, right? And so I'm screaming in the car on my way back home. I had to go to work right after the meeting, and I'm telling everybody, I'm like, guys, you won't believe what just happened to me. All I was waiting for was confirmation from Crowder's management to greenlight the project, and then just when could I start, It was March 18th. March 18th was my first day in the office. It was such an interesting transition. It wasn't all easy. I'll be really honest. The first few months were really, really hard. Even though I was doing what I loved, which was, creating concept art and, establishing a storyboarding, like creating, story beats and all the creative stuff, right? Like, it's stuff that I've been doing for years, and I love doing it. But coming from, a fast pace, on your feet, retail job where I have a lot of camaraderie with my coworkers, to I sit down for 8 hours every day, alone. That was kind of a rough transition, excuse me. And I felt so underqualified during the whole process of this. Because at this time when I got hired, I hadn't really animated that much at all. My reel was kind of outdated, And most of the stuff that I was asked to do, I had never done before. For example, I had never storyboarded action sequences. I had never did concept art for any sort of like dark creature. So I had to get out of my comfort zone and like create concepts for death and the demons and other things that weren't really thrown into the music video. I don't know, it was just, and I'd never worked collaboratively on projects like this before. The Land Below was one thing, but this was different. I felt like it was a client job. It wasn't like a personal thing. Like there was a lot riding on this. It was really daunting that they kind of just handed this over to me, and I had a lot of creative control since I was the only visual artist kind of spearheading the music video. You know, it felt like there was a lot of weight there, but it was also very humbling to know that my superiors trusted me enough to communicate things clearly, to basically create and, you know, all these visuals and the beats for it. It was wild because after I graduated Bible college down here, I didn't really have any direction but to stay in Tulsa, and I had no idea why. And it had been a year around this time that this happened, and so once I got hired, I was like, oh, this is why I stayed. I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity to do this, and I'm still working at the company, doing some small projects here and there, and it's crazy that I did this. And big thanks to Adrian, who did all of the 3D backgrounds and helped me not only practically, but also emotionally. And to Brian, who did a lot of the basic foundational After Effects edits for me to kind of build off of at the end of the production. Big thanks to Kevin and Logan, my bosses, for hiring me and trusting me with the responsibility of creating a lot of the things here in this music video. And thanks for the Crowder management for giving this whole project to the company that ended up making them hire me. And now they have to deal with all my antics. It's awesome. And there's so much more to say about it, like the whole process behind it, I've said it before, but it's a great music video. It's a great song. And it was 100% the favor of God that I was put on this project, that I even had connections to this company in the first place. I'm so thankful. It's amazing. You should go watch the whole thing yourself. The link is in the description. I worked 5 months on it, and let the comments know that I sent you. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. Just watch it. I will tell you to do that. That's basically it. Oh, wait, no, there's this. Hey guys, I'm Hannah Grace. I am a digital illustrator and traditional animator working in the freelance industry for over 8 years. I'm most well known for this. I also did this. And most recently, an animated music video for David Crowder. Creating visual stories is something I'm super passionate about, and my next project is something that is really close to my heart, and it's called Aperon. Some of you are more familiar with its former name called The Limitless Crew, an aspiring animated series about a flightless girl named Robin and her misfit friends Emmett, Hunter, and Neela. With war on the horizon, it's up to these kids to push past their limitations and fight against a dark evil, all while they uncover ancient magic and mysteries that could change their world forever. It has complicated characters, engaging action, magical locations, and a deep mystery that has yet to be discovered. So why Patreon? Patreon gives creators a platform to not only create a unique community, but to also allow those who love their content to support them financially. And by supporting me, you get backstage access to the production of the series. You'll have access to exclusive character designs, concept art, rough animations, downloadable content, all that jazz. For bigger projects, I'm gonna need help with more animators, sound designers, background artists, and even musical compositions. With the support of my patrons, I'll be able to collaborate with these artists on the Aperon series to create high quality content that you want to see. I've been working on this story for years, and I'm so excited to show the world the story I've poured my heart into for so long. Consider becoming a patron and come with me on this journey. I hope to see you there. Interesting, huh? I did have a Patreon a couple years ago, but it was right at the start of me doing Bible college and there was just no time. But now this seems very reasonable for me right now, and I want to get started on this project as soon as possible. So if you're interested, hop on over to patreon.com/HannahGrace and support me however you want and have access to some exclusive Aperon content. Sketches and animations and maybe more, who knows. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video and for all of your support. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you in the next one. Whenever that may be. Bye! Merry Christmas!